The rain pounded against the windows of the small Brooklyn apartment like an unrelenting accusation, each drop echoing the turmoil in Dalziel's chest. He stared at the crumpled anniversary card on the kitchen table, the one Mark had handed him just hours ago, with a smile that now felt like a knife twist. "I love you, but I can't do this anymore," Mark had said, his voice breaking as he admitted to the affair. Not just any affair, but with Dalziel's own cousin, the one who'd always sneered at their marriage behind closed doors. Dalziel's hands shook as he poured himself another glass of whiskey, the burn in his throat doing little to numb the betrayal. They'd been together for 8 years, married for 3, fighting tooth and nail against Mark's conservative family, who saw their union as a stain on their Southern Baptist roots. Mark had chosen him, or so Dalziel thought, leaving behind the expectations of a normal life in Georgia for the anonymity of New York. But now, this confession, it wasn't just infidelity. It was a deliberate strike at the heart of everything they'd built. Dalziel paced the room, his mind racing through memories, the late nights Mark spent at the office, the hushed phone calls, the sudden trips back home. How had he missed it? Or had he chosen not to see, clinging to the illusion of happiness? By dawn, the decision crystallized in his mind like ice. He couldn't face another day of lies. Sitting at his laptop, Dalziel drafted the divorce papers himself, using templates from a legal site he'd bookmarked years ago during their prenup discussions. His fingers flew over the keys, each clause a wall he was building around his shattered heart. Irreconcilable differences, he typed, though the real reason burned unspoken. Betrayal by blood and bond. He printed them out, signed his name with a flourish that hid his trembling, and left them on the table next to the card. When Mark woke, he'd find them, and Dalziel would be gone, crashing at his friend Jamie's place in Queens. But as he stepped out into the gray morning, his phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "You think this ends with divorce? Your family's been pulling strings longer than you know." Dalziel froze on the sidewalk, the world tilting. His family, his own parents, who had grudgingly attended the wedding but never fully accepted him. Or was it Mark's side, the ones who'd threatened to cut him off if he didn't straighten out? He hailed a cab, his mind a whirlwind of suspicion. By the time he arrived at Jamie's, the doubt had festered into paranoia. What if this affair wasn't Mark's choice? He muttered to himself, collapsing on the couch. Jamie, ever the pragmatic one, handed him coffee and listened as Dalziel spilled the story. "Sounds like more than just cheating," Jamie said, his brow furrowed. "You need to dig deeper, man. Don't let this destroy you without the full truth." Dalziel spent the day unraveling threads. He called his sister, Elena, who lived in Chicago and had always been his ally. "Dalziel, I didn't want to say anything, but Mom and Dad, they've been talking to Mark's parents. Something about saving him." Her words hit like a punch. Saving him? From what? Their love. The life they'd chosen? Rage boiled up, but beneath it, a deeper hurt. The realization that his own blood saw him as the problem. He hung up and scrolled through old emails, finding one from his father 2 years back. "Son, we love you, but this lifestyle is not right. Mark deserves better." Better? As if Dalziel was a curse. That evening, Mark showed up at Jamie's door, eyes red-rimmed and pleading. "Dalziel, please, let's talk. It's not what you think." But Dalziel slammed the door in his face, the forged papers burning a hole in his pocket. He didn't know then that this was just the beginning, that the conspiracy ran deeper, involving money, secrets, and choices that would force him to question every relationship in his life. As night fell, Dalziel lay awake, the weight of impending confrontation pressing down. What price would he pay for the truth? The next morning brought a knock from a private investigator Dalziel had impulsively hired online. "Mr. Rivera, I've got preliminary findings on your husband." The man, grizzled and no-nonsense, laid out photos. Mark meeting not just with the cousin, but with Dalziel's father in a diner outside Atlanta. "Looks like family intervention," the PI said. Dalziel's stomach churned.
Intervention?
This wasn't concern. It was sabotage. He confronted his father over the phone, voice steady despite the storm inside. "Dad, what have you done?" The silence stretched, then a sigh. "We were trying to help Mark see reason. Your mother's idea. Offer him a way out financially." Financially? So they bribed him? The betrayal deepened, layers peeling back to reveal rot at the core. Dalziel met Mark at a neutral coffee shop in Manhattan, the air thick with unspoken accusations. "Tell me everything," Dalziel demanded, his eyes locked on Mark's. Mark hesitated, then spilled. The cousin was a setup, orchestrated by both families to prove Mark's confusion, to push him back into heteronormativity. "I didn't want to hurt you," Mark whispered, tears falling. "But the pressure. They threatened to disown me, cut off my inheritance." Dalziel's heart fractured anew. Not at the affair, but at the manipulation. How could love survive in a world that conspired against it? He walked out, leaving Mark pleading, his mind set on exposing the truth, no matter the cost. Days blurred into a haze of investigation. Dalziel dug into financial records, discovering transfers from his parents to Mark's account, hush money, essentially. The moral quandary gnawed at him. Confront them and risk total estrangement, or swallow the pain and move on? Society's gaze weighed heavy too. Friends whispered about gay drama, as if their struggles were entertainment. Jamie urged caution. "You're playing with fire, Dalziel. Families don't forgive easy." But Dalziel couldn't stop. The fire was already lit. He arranged a family dinner, inviting both sides under the guise of reconciliation. The tension was palpable as they gathered in a quiet restaurant in Midtown. Dalziel's mother fidgeted, his father avoided eye contact, while Mark's parents sat rigidly. "I know what you've done," Dalziel announced, laying out the evidence. Gasps echoed, denials flew. "We did it for your own good," his mother cried. "For their good?" The hypocrisy stung. Mark, silent until then, stood. "I love Dalziel. Your interference nearly destroyed us." The room erupted in arguments, old prejudices surfacing like wounds reopened. Dalziel felt the weight of generations' expectations crushing him, but in that chaos, a spark of defiance ignited. He wouldn't let them win. The fallout from the dinner was swift and brutal. Dalziel's phone lit up with messages. Accusations from his parents, pleas from Mark, even threats from the cousin involved in the scheme. "You'll regret this," the cousin texted, a veiled warning that sent chills down Dalziel's spine. He blocked the number, but the damage was done. Paranoia set in, every shadow a potential spy from the family network. Work suffered. As a graphic designer, his creativity dried up under the stress, leading to missed deadlines and concerned looks from colleagues. "You okay, man?" his boss asked, but Dalziel brushed it off, unwilling to drag his personal hell into the office. Mark moved back in temporarily, their apartment a minefield of tentative conversations and avoided touches. "I never wanted the affair," Mark confessed one night over takeout. "It was a stupid mistake, fueled by their manipulation." Dalziel wanted to believe him, but trust was a fragile thing. Shattered into pieces, he wasn't sure he could reassemble. The internal conflict tore at him. Forgive and risk more pain, or end it and face loneliness in a city that suddenly felt hostile. Society's subtle homophobia amplified everything. Even walking hand in hand drew stares, reminders that their love was still other. Elena flew in from Chicago, her presence a lifeline. "You have to decide what's worth fighting for," she said, hugging him tightly. But deciding meant confronting his own demons, the fear of abandonment rooted in childhood, when his coming out had strained family ties. "They think they're saving us from sin," Dalziel mused bitterly. "But who's the sinner here?" Elena nodded, her eyes fierce. "Fight back, Dalziel. Show them love isn't a choice to be undone." Inspired, he started documenting everything, building a case not for court, but for his own sanity. Emails, bank statements, recorded calls, it all painted a picture of calculated interference. The turning point came when Mark's father called, voice gruff with reluctant admission. "We crossed a line, son, but you need to understand our church, our community. They don't accept this." Dalziel, listening on speaker, interjected, "And you think destroying our marriage helps?" That's not love. That's control. The call ended abruptly, but seeds of doubt were planted. Mark looked at Dalziel with renewed hope. Maybe we can rebuild. But Dalziel hesitated, the betrayal scar too fresh. That night, alone in the guest room, he wept for the innocence lost, the pure love tainted by external forces. Pressure mounted from unexpected quarters. Friends divided. Some sided with Dalziel, calling the families toxic, while others urged forgiveness, citing family first. One, a straight colleague, quipped, "Gay marriages are tough enough without this soap opera." The comment stung, highlighting the casual dismissal of their struggles. Dalziel snapped back, "Try living it," and stormed out, isolation deepening. He sought therapy, the sessions unraveling layers of internalized shame. "You've internalized their judgments," the therapist said. "Reclaim your narrative." It was a start, but the path was steep. Mark proposed couples counseling, a desperate bid for redemption. They attended their first session in a nondescript office in Chelsea, the air heavy with unspoken grievances. "I felt trapped," Mark admitted, voice cracking. "My family's expectations. I cracked under them." Dalziel countered, "And I paid the price. How do I know it won't happen again?" The therapist mediated, probing deeper into their dynamics. It was raw, exposing vulnerabilities Dalziel had buried. His fear of not being enough, rooted in societal messages that gay men were flawed. Mark's own guilt surfaced. "I betrayed you to please them, and it cost me everything." As sessions progressed, glimmers of understanding emerged, but so did new revelations. Mark confessed the affair had been emotional more than physical, a confessional outlet for his doubts. "I questioned if I was truly gay, or just rebelling." Dalziel's heart ached. Was their love built on sand? The moral dilemma weighed. Stay and fight for authenticity, or walk away from potential heartbreak? Society's lens complicated it. Media portrayals of gay relationships often ended in tragedy, fueling his pessimism. A surprise visit from Dalziel's parents escalated tensions. They arrived unannounced, faces etched with remorse, or was it strategy? "We were wrong," his mother said, tears flowing. "But please, don't cut us out." Dalziel's father added, "We thought we were protecting you both from judgment." Protecting? The irony burned. Dalziel exploded. "Your protection nearly ended our marriage." The argument raged, old wounds reopening. His father's disapproval at the wedding, his mother's silent complicity. Mark defended Dalziel, a united front forming unexpectedly. "If you can't accept us, leave," Mark said firmly. They did, but not before planting more doubt. "Think about the future. Kids' legacy. It's not the same." The words lingered, stirring Dalziel's deepest fears. Adoption had been discussed, but now, with fractured families, it felt impossible. He confided in Jamie, "Am I selfish for wanting this life?" Jamie shook his head. "No, they're the selfish ones." Bolstered, Dalziel pushed forward, but the cost was evident. Sleepless nights, strained friendships, a marriage on life support. High noon approached when the cousin surfaced again, this time with an apology email. "I was coerced too. Let's meet." Suspicious, Dalziel agreed, choosing a public park in Central Park. The meeting was tense. The cousin revealed recordings of family meetings plotting the intervention. They wanted Mark back in the fold, heteronormative and all. Proof in hand, Dalziel felt empowered, but the victory was Pyrrhic, exposing it meant total war. He returned home to Mark, evidence in tow. "What do we do?" Mark asked. Dalziel's response, "We decide together." For the first time in weeks, hope flickered. With the recordings, Dalziel and Mark held the power to dismantle the conspiracy, but wielding it came with ethical thorns. Expose the families publicly, perhaps through a blog or social media, and risk irreversible damage, or use it privately to force acceptance. The debate consumed their evenings, voices rising in heated exchanges. "They deserve to be shamed," Dalziel argued, anger fueling him. Mark countered, "But they're our parents. Destruction isn't healing." The impasse highlighted their differences. Dalziel's fiery justice versus Mark's cautious reconciliation. Internally, Dalziel wrestled with vengeance's allure, knowing it could poison his soul. Society's undercurrents amplified the struggle. Online forums buzzed with similar stories, gay couples torn by familial bigotry, offering solidarity but also warnings of backlash. One post read, "I outed my family's interference. Lost them forever." Dalziel scrolled endlessly, the digital echo chamber mirroring his turmoil. At work, a project on LGBTQ+ representation forced him to confront his hypocrisy, advocating visibility while hiding his pain. "You look wrecked," a coworker noted. Dalziel opened up slightly, finding unexpected support. "Fight for your truth," she said. It bolstered him, but the isolation persisted. Mark's job as a teacher added pressure. Rumors of their marital strife reached the school, where conservative parents whispered about unfit influences. "I could lose my position," Mark confided, fear etching his features. Dalziel's guilt surged. Was his pursuit of justice endangering Mark's livelihood? The moral tightrope thinned, personal vindication versus collective well-being. They attended more therapy, the counselor challenging, "What does winning look like?" For Dalziel, it was acknowledgement. For Mark, peace. A breakthrough came via Elena's mediation. She hosted a virtual call with both families, recordings mentioned but not played. "This stops now," she declared. Accusations flew. Dalziel's parents blamed Mark's for initiating, vice versa. The chaos revealed fractured alliances, but also cracks in their resolve. Mark's mother broke first. "We were scared for you." Scared? Of happiness? Dalziel's sarcasm nearly escaped, but he held back, sensing vulnerability. "Fear doesn't justify sabotage," he said evenly. The call ended inconclusively, but dialogue opened, a sliver of progress amid the wreckage. Yet betrayal's aftershocks lingered. Dalziel dreamed of alternate lives, ones without the weight of prejudice. Waking, he'd stare at Mark, questioning fidelity's fragility. "Do you regret us?" he asked one dawn. Mark's embrace was answer enough, but words followed. "Never, but I regret cracking." Honesty bridged gaps, but trust rebuilt slowly, brick by painful brick. Social outings tested them. At a pride event in the village, stares reminded Dalziel of visibility's double edge, empowerment laced with vulnerability. The cousin's full confession shifted dynamics. Meeting again, he admitted, "Your dad paid me to seduce Mark, prove he wasn't really gay." The revelation stunned. Dalziel's father, the architect? Confrontation was inevitable. He drove to his parents' home in New Jersey, heart pounding. "Why?" he demanded, recordings ready. His father deflated. "I thought if Mark strayed, you'd see it's not meant to be." Not meant? The paternalism enraged. His mother intervened. "We love you, but society." Dalziel cut her off. "Society changes. You don't." He left, the door slamming on decades of conditional love. Back in Brooklyn, Mark awaited, concern etched. "How bad?" Dalziel recounted, collapsing into his arms. Vulnerability sparked intimacy. Not physical, but emotional, a reaffirmation of their bond. Yet the cost tallied. Strained finances from therapy, emotional exhaustion, frayed friendships. Jamie warned, "Don't let this define you." But it did, reshaping Dalziel into someone harder, more resolute. High drama unfolded when Mark's school board summoned him over personal conduct. Whispers of the affair had leaked, twisted into scandal. "This could end my career," Mark said, panic rising. Dalziel's rage targeted the source, likely family sabotage. He anonymously sent excerpts of recordings to the board, framing it as defense against discrimination. It worked. The inquiry dropped, but backlash ensued. Mark's parents disowned him fully, cutting financial ties. "Worth it?" Dalziel asked. Mark nodded. "For us, yes." But the victory hollowed. Loss echoed. Dalziel's own career faltered. A client pulled out, citing distractions. Paranoia peaked. Was it coincidence or conspiracy? He confided in Elena, I'm losing myself. She urged balance, justice without self-destruction. Heated, he paused the crusade, focusing on healing. Couples retreats in upstate New York offered respite, exercises rebuilding trust amid nature's calm. I choose you every day, Mark vowed during one session. Dalziel echoed, but doubts whispered. As tensions simmered, a new threat emerged: legal action. Mark's family threatened slander suits over the recordings. Back off, their lawyer emailed. Dalziel consulted an attorney, the costs mounting. Ethical lines blurred. Fight legally? Bankrupt themselves? Or concede? The decision loomed, a precipice of no return. In quiet moments, Dalziel pondered the human cost: broken bonds, scarred psyches. Was love worth this war? The answer eluded, but perseverance beckoned. The legal threat galvanized Dalziel and Mark into action, transforming their apartment into a war room of documents and strategies. We can't let them bully us, Dalziel insisted, poring over emails with their pro bono lawyer, a fierce advocate from an LGBTQ+ firm. The attorney, sharp-eyed and empathetic, warned, this could drag on, expose everything. Exposure, the word chilled, their private pain becoming public fodder. Mark hesitated. Maybe negotiate? But Dalziel's resolve hardened. Negotiation means they win. The internal clash mirrored broader struggles: aggression versus appeasement in the face of oppression. Society's gaze intensified. A local news outlet caught wind, framing it as family feud over gay marriage. Comments sections erupted with vitriol. They chose this lifestyle. Deal with it. Dalziel read them obsessively, each barb a reminder of entrenched bias. Friends rallied, organizing support groups, but isolation crept in. You're becoming obsessed, Jamie observed. True. Sleep evaded, replaced by scenarios of courtroom triumphs and defeats. The first hearing in a Manhattan courthouse was a circus of emotions. Families faced off across the aisle, eyes avoiding. Dalziel testified, voice steady. This wasn't concern, it was conspiracy. Cross-examination probed. Did you forge divorce papers? He admitted, the admission a calculated risk to show desperation. Mark followed, detailing the pressure. I was manipulated into doubt. The judge's neutral expression offered no clues, but the air crackled with unspoken judgments. Post-hearing, Dalziel's mother approached tearfully. Please, end this. Her plea tugged at heartstrings, but betrayal's memory stiffened his spine. You ended it first, he replied, walking away. Mark's disownment weighed heavier. Without family support, financial strain mounted. Bills piled, savings dwindled. We're in this together, Mark assured, but worry lines deepened. A twist came via anonymous tips, evidence of similar interventions in other families, suggesting a network tied to their church. Dalziel investigated, uncovering emails linking his father to conservative groups funding reparative therapy. Horror-struck. Was this bigger than them? Moral outrage surged, exposing it could at others, but at what personal cost? He debated with Mark. We have a duty. Mark agreed reluctantly, but not at our expense. The choice crystallized: go public. They leaked select documents to a progressive media outlet, the story exploding online. Headlines screamed, families plot to undo gay marriages. Support flooded, donations, messages of solidarity, but so did hate mail, threats. Dalziel's workplace became a battleground. Colleagues divided, some applauding bravery, others distancing. This drama affects us all, his boss hinted. Pressure to resign loomed, testing resilience. Mark faced worse. Protests at his school, parents demanding his removal. Unstable influence, they claimed. He fought back in meetings, voice firm. My personal life doesn't affect my teaching. Backed by unions, he prevailed, but the toll was evident. Exhaustion, anxiety. In quiet nights, they clung together, love a fragile anchor amid the storm. Was it worth it? Dalziel whispered. Mark's response, for change, yes. The lawsuit escalated to mediation, families offering settlements. Hush money for silence. Take it, Dalziel's father urged. Temptation flickered. End the pain, rebuild quietly. But integrity demanded refusal. No more bribes, Dalziel declared. The mediator sighed. This tears families apart. Exactly, Dalziel thought. But whose fault? Healing glimpses emerged amid chaos. Therapy deepened, unearthing childhood traumas. Dalziel's bullying for acting gay. Mark's repressed identity. We've internalized their hate, the therapist noted. Exercises fostered empathy, role-playing family perspectives, revealing pain behind prejudice. They fear loss too, Mark realized. Dalziel nodded, compassion budding, but forgiveness distant. Social ripple effects surprised. Strangers shared stories, forming a community. A support group in Brooklyn became sanctuary, tales of similar betrayals bonding them. You're not alone, a member said. It empowered, but underscored systemic issues. Legal protections lacking, societal acceptance superficial. Dalziel pondered. Fight individually or advocate broadly. He chose both, speaking at rallies, voice amplifying. As the case dragged, a health scare struck. Dalziel collapsed from stress, hospitalized briefly. You need to slow down, doctors warned. Mark by his bedside. I can't lose you. The moment reframed priorities. Love over vengeance. They withdrew parts of the suit, seeking private resolution. Families relented slightly, agreeing to therapy. A step, Elena called it. But scars remained. Friendships fractured. Some couldn't handle the intensity. Jamie distanced. It's too much. Loss compounded, but new bonds formed. Dalziel and Mark renewed vows privately. A quiet ceremony in their park, symbolizing rebirth. Through fire, Mark toasted. Dalziel smiled, hope tentative. Yet, doubts lingered. Could families truly change? The answer unfolded slowly, in awkward calls and hesitant apologies. Resolution teetered on fragile ground as mediations continued. Each session a battlefield of concessions and demands. Acknowledge the harm, Dalziel insisted, facing his parents across the table. His father's nod was grudging. We were misguided. Misguided? The understatement rankled, but Mark squeezed his hand. It's a start. Progress crept, apologies trickling like reluctant rain. Mark's mother admitting fear of societal ostracism. Dalziel's father confessing church pressure. Ethical reckonings surfaced. Were they victims of indoctrination or willing perpetrators? Dalziel grappled, empathy warring with resentment. Society's evolution offered context. Polls showed growing acceptance, but pockets of resistance persisted. Their story inspired a documentary pitch, filmmakers approaching for rights. Share to educate, they urged. Dalziel wavered. Vulnerability for impact? Mark supported. If it helps one couple, they agreed, filming raw interviews exposing the pain. Airing brought catharsis, but reopened wounds. Public scrutiny intensified, judgments pouring in. Heroes or troublemakers? The dichotomy exhausted. Personal growth bloomed amid turmoil. Dalziel launched a blog, chronicling gay life's realities, gaining followers. Your words matter, readers messaged. Healed, transforming pain into purpose. Mark returned to teaching invigorated, incorporating inclusivity lessons. For the kids, he said, their marriage strengthened, routines rebuilding trust, date nights, shared dreams of adoption. But shadows loomed. Would families sabotage again? A family reunion tested waters. Hosted neutrally in Philadelphia, tensions simmered. Dalziel's cousin, reformed, apologized sincerely. I was wrong. Forgiveness came haltingly. Bridges mending inch by inch. Mark's parents thawed, attending pride events tentatively. Learning, they claimed. Dalziel observed warily, hope guarded. The event ended positively, but not without drama. A heated debate on faith versus love. God made us this way, Dalziel argued. Silence followed, seeds planted. Financial recovery lagged. Legal fees drained, forcing side gigs. Dalziel freelanced more, Mark tutored. We'll make it, they vowed. Friends returned, Jamie apologizing. I bailed. Sorry. Reconciliation sweetened victories, but losses tallied. Innocence. Naivety. Dalziel reflected. Had the ordeal made them stronger, or just scarred? Climax arrived with the suit's dismissal, mutual agreements signed. No contact clauses lifted, therapy mandated. Over, Mark sighed in relief. But was it? Ripples continued, church excommunications for the families, ironic justice. Dalziel pondered the cycle. Prejudice begetting pain, awakening change. In quiet aftermath, they traveled to California, a reset amid oceans and mountains. Conversations deepened. What if we'd never fought? Mark mused. Dalziel replied, we'd be living lies. Truth's price was steep, but authenticity priceless. Returning, they pursued adoption, navigating biases in the system. Worthy parents, agencies affirmed, a win against odds. Yet, doubts persisted. Dalziel's blog post queried, is family blood or choice? Responses flooded, debates raging. He and Mark read them, perspectives broadening. Years condensed into moments. First anniversary post-crisis, celebrated intimately. To us, they toasted. Families attended sporadically, acceptance growing. But the journey etched lessons. Love's fragility, society's slow march. Dalziel looked back. Betrayal birthed resilience. Conspiracy unveiled truths. In the end, their story wasn't triumph or tragedy, but human complexity. They stood together, weathered but whole, facing futures uncertain yet hopeful. Was it right to expose family secrets for personal justice, even if it shattered lifelong bonds?